Hi, this is Eric with ForgeCon Conclusions. Today will be working on these two rings, soldering them together and putting sizing beads. When we're talking about sizing beads, jeweler's beads, sizing bars, there's a whole bunch of different words, but this is basically what we're going to be doing. Is we have the ring, and then we're going to be putting these extra pieces of metal on the inside of the ring. That way it grabs onto the bottom of your finger and the ring won't spin. Our first step, so we size this up. We're going to cut in the grooves and clean it up a little bit because we won't be able to get at some of those sections once the rings are soldered together. Okay, we have our rings. So we recut the line in, and now we're going to solder these together. There's a couple different ways of doing that. We're using binding wire here, and it's just steel wire. There's also some tweezers, soldered together tweezers that we could be using. So our goal here is to solder the rose gold band onto the diamond engagement ring, and we also, per customer request, want the rose gold closest to the bigger stone. So I put solder here, and then I put solder here, heated up this whole section, and then all the solder flowed in between the joint here, so now it's connected. Your goal when we solder together is to try and get everything as lined up as possible, so you want as little of a gap as possible. Sometimes that's unavoidable, and you also want it so that way, visually, top, down, left, right, whatever, the rings are, looking like they're jiving well. Alright, so there's an engraving on the inside of this, so we're going to use the engraving as our reference. We're going to go in between it and put our sizing beads in it. First step, we're going to use a round burr, and we're going to cut out a little bit of material, and then we're going to make 2 gold beads and then solder those in. We have our ring is soldered together. We just put the sizing beads in. So we've got an engraving on the inside, and we basically went in between that. So now we're on the cleanup phase. We'll be cleaning, polishing the inside, correcting any issues with the engraving to make it look clean and legible, and then we're going to be cutting with a saw to define our rings, so that way it looks 1, 2, 3, 4 rings, so that way it's nice and clean, and then we'll polish this up. We've cleaned up the inside of the ring, and the outside of the ring we used a little brush to get into the grooves, and now we're going to be taking it over to the polishing machine to give it all the final polishing. This is the finished piece. So we have the rings soldered together, sizing beads, the engravings intact, nice and shiny, pretty even. So there we go. Thanks for watching. This is Eric with Forge Gone Conclusions. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We much appreciate it. Thank you for joining us.